Alrighty, so I'm going to go through the Salesforce basics that I just learned in the attempt of synthesizing the information that's in my head. So let's start with what Salesforce as a company really does. Salesforce is on the cloud. What that really means, the cloud, it just means that instead of the client having their own hardware, the hardware and everything powering specific processes are hosted by Salesforce. It's also multi-tenant, which really means that several, like not several, all customers are basically sharing that hardware in some form of capacity. That's why tenant, which stands for the client, there's multiple of the clients on the same hardware hosted by Salesforce. And then it's powered by APIs and metadata. That really means that there are processes, so application programming interfaces are basically processes that are used to communicate between two different software or several different softwares. And it's basically code that is being used, as well as the metadata, which is the data about data. They're being used to power how Salesforce is exists. And as a result of that, the whole platform is very integrated. It can all talk to each other. It's all working cohesively together. With that, let's go through actually and kind of understand here the basics of what we normally see. So before, we became part of Salesforce, we had Salesforce Classic. So this Lightning Web Component thing is kind of new to me, but now I'm beginning to understand how it functions. So first and foremost, here you can find all the apps. What apps mean is basically the processes are in place for a specific purpose. So you can see that I'm on the sales app, but there's a marketing app, there's a community app, there's service app, etc. If I go to the sales app, which is where I'm at right now, every single one of these things, it's called an object. So if I open, for example, the contact object and then go to all contacts, say I go to a specific contact name, you can see that the object name is the contact, but then that contact has specific fields related to it. So for example, the contact owner is a field related to contact. I am the contact owner. The name is a field related to contacts. That's Mr. Andy Young, etc. So these are all fields related to contacts. And then each single thing is a record, right? So the name may be a field, but Mr. Andy Young is a record in the data. So that is what a record is. And the last thing you should know is that you can have different orgs, which really means that different people can log in and see different apps and different environments laid out for them. Okay, so the most important part of Salesforce in terms of being in the admin is the setup widget, which is right here. So you can see if I click on it, you can actually go straight to editing an object here, or the page, which is just the page layout, which is the web UI. Or you can go to setup directly and you'll be able to see a menu on the left that has all sorts of information. While this can be overwhelming, it was for me at least the first time I saw it, the more you're using this, the more familiar it becomes, the more it's easier to figure out what you need to do. So an example of one of the common ones that you can use is, for example, the company information page. So I used a quick search to look it up. And then when I click on company information, you can see all things related to my org. So you can see what is my data space, my file space. You can see my org ID, what kind of licensing I have, what kind of permission sets I have, etc. And there's different ways to manage different things through this. For example, I go through the users page and I can see what are my users, who are they, change their passwords or add different users, etc. So that's really fundamentally the setup menu. And the last thing you should know is that when it comes to your org, you can actually add external apps through the app exchange. So I'm not really sure if you can see it here or not. So you can see this is the web name component. All right, I think, so the app exchange, the only thing you should know about it is, let's go here. Basically, Salesforce has its own version of an app store. and you can add those apps to your orgs here, but you just have to be very careful about what apps you're adding and why. So an example here is there's this dashboard pack app that you can download, and you can just click on get it now, and that will be included in your org. But you have to just consider the use cases, and always, in an ideal situation, test it out on a sandbox environment, not directly into your production environment. That's the Salesforce platform basics. That's the information that I retained. Hopefully this helps. Thank you.